Can hi-fi actually be convenient? Easy to implement, set up, not be 100 pounds and require you to drag it into a room and plug in all kinds of cables and get a headache? Yeah, actually it can. Enter the McIntosh RS150 Wireless Smart Speaker, all new and improved. It's a McIntosh, our Mac in kitchen, our Mac in bedroom, our Mac inside, our Mac outside, Mac in studio. But seriously, you can bring this thing anywhere. It's a Mac in anywhere. Anywho, question of the day, guys. Up until now, what has been your favorite wireless smart speaker that you have owned, and why will you be replacing it with the new RS150? Okay, well, you might not know the answer to that yet, but you'll soon be finding out. By now, many of you have probably watched more than a few of the McIntosh videos on our channel, as it is one of our brands that we feature a lot, and for good reason, because they're one of the finest names in hi-fi. You may have even recently seen our McIntosh live stream event with Ken from McIntosh, whose name at this point should pretty much just be changed to McIntosh because he is quite literally Mr. McIntosh. Go check that out if you haven't. Ken has so much cool stuff to share with us. McIntosh, founded in the 1940s, actually got its start not far from where we are in Maryland, in Silver Spring. Shortly after, they moved to Binghamton, New York, where they built their now very famous factory. Some McIntosh products have been known to appreciate in value, if not hold very close to their original market value. There's a lot of reasons to buy a Mac, and they all start with quality and continue because of longevity. So, the all-new RS150. What's going on here? Why even make an RS150? Wasn't the RS100 good enough? Yada, yada, yada. The RS100 sounded really good. After all, it was a McIntosh. Of course it did. But there is one particular little nitpick I had about the RS100, and at least for me personally, that was DTS Play-Fi. Hey, Play-Fi works, it's fine. I just don't find it to be the most intuitive, well laid out, user-friendly, or even prettiest looking app experience that I can think of when it comes to audio. And Mac, despite being one of the finest audio companies in the world and making great products across the board, even they are always searching for improvement, as they should be. And so we arrive at the RS150, and I really like the direction they went with this product. I think where it really needed to improve, it did. Apple AirPlay 2, Google Chromecast, Spotify Connect, yes. Tidal Connect, double yes. And it's even Roon ready. If you've never experienced Roon and you've got a nice music collection at home stored digitally, try that out. And finally, good old-fashioned old guard Bluetooth. One of the best features of the RS150 is in fact that it's just now a connectivity monster. This is as good as it gets now, if you ask me. I don't really think Mac could have developed a better platform than what they knew was already out there and what we were already using. All it takes is one little extra tap on your phone to hit AirPlay or Spotify Connect, and you're on the RS150. That's it. There's nothing else to learn or do. Just tap. Okay, all the intangible stuff aside, what's actually going on in the physical product? Well, let's have a look. I'm gonna pop this grill off, which easily connects just with some pegs that are actually very easy to manipulate. Sometimes these peg grills bother me, not so here. So, good job, Mac. We can see we got a separate woofer and a separate tweeter. This is actually a long throw, or what some call a long excursion woofer. Temper your expectations for the size of the speaker, of course. However, it does make up for some of that size by being long throw. This thing can really move. Check this out. Despite how much that woofer can move though, it does sound very controlled and it does not get muddy. And also this is aided by the fact that it is a rear ported speaker. You can see the very nice square port integrated into the back of this. We can take advantage of that and squeeze a little bit more bass out of this fruit by putting a port in the rear, and it actually works to increase our experience rather than take away from it. So what about the tweeter? Tweeters, of course, are responsible for your higher frequencies, and the interplay between this driver and this one is really important. Really, that's kind of 101 on good speaker design, is getting a nice balance here. The Mac tweeter is pretty smooth, but it's not undetailed. It's going to tell you about those nice, airy, high, trebly bits in your music, of course, but it's also not going to drive you crazy and push you out of the room in 10 to 30 minutes of listening because it's too sharp. With tweeters, you want to find that balance of kind of smoothness, easy listening, with detail, which sometimes can be kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum. You want to know what's in your music, you want to hear the truth, but you also don't want it to drive you crazy. The RS150, it's got a nice balance. That's the characteristics of the speaker functionally. But what about just aesthetically? I mean, it's a Mac after all. I'm sure you guys can kind of already see. What really else do I need to say? You've got the wonderful McIntosh piano black finish all around. This is a color we've seen on virtually every Mac product, and obviously it's going to live here too. And the lacquering and polish on this cabinet is like mirror smooth. It's great. Now, as far as your general aesthetic goes here, we can stick with wild by leaving our grill off, keeping those sweet drivers exposed, and watching that woofer dance. Remember that? Yeah, that's cool. But if you want to tone it down a little bit and go a little bit more mild, you can pop your grill on, just line up those pegs, slap it into place, boom, you're done. Even I was able to do that without looking at it. If you are, that's it. Now, with the grill on, going for our more chill aesthetic here, your eye's probably going to be most drawn to the meter down here if it wasn't already, flanking the very nice input selection and volume knobs that have that Mac amp aesthetic to them as well. If you remember the original RS100, or really just any Mac amp for that example, you know the good old McIntosh blue meter. And that is sort of back. Except they've modernized it a touch, and while I love that classic meter and slightly miss it, I really can't complain about this one because I think this looks really cool too. And with this being, quite frankly, a more modern product, it's a smart speaker. You know, it's got AirPlay, Spotify, all that stuff we talked about. I think it fits. It's a modern speaker with modern features with a modern purpose. So you might want to put a modern meter on it. And quick shot of the back of the speaker, nice and simple. Little USB service port you'll never have to worry about. There's an Ethernet jack for hard wiring, which I'd recommend if it's available to you, because it's always better. Not to say the Wi-Fi isn't good, no, it's great. And of course, wall power. What are the advantages and maybe some of the things you should consider when looking at taking home an RS150? First and foremost, your advantages are going to be the size. This guy's relatively small, but it's still big enough to sound like a decent speaker. And it does. It's a McIntosh. Of course it does. And of course, with the small size comes the ease of implementing it anywhere, as it is not heavy. And really all this needs is just a power outlet, and you can stick this anywhere in the home, use it as easily as I just described, and it sounds like a Mac. It's anywhere hi-fi. The other thing is reliability. Whereas the original RS100 sounded pretty good, that play-fi, the fact that it could just have some hiccups every now and then, and it was a little bit difficult for new users to pick up. On this, the RS150, all the wireless features I mentioned previously, you know, Apple AirPlay, Spotify Connect, yada, 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 they just work, and they work really, really well. And finally, of course it sounds good. It's a McIntosh. It's a McIntosh wireless smart speaker. It's probably, and it does, going to sound better than the more entry to mid-level options that you're probably more familiar with in this industry. But with any product, there are some considerations that you should have in mind when you're shopping. It is going to be pricier than most of the competition. Again, it's a McIntosh, but there's a reason for that, and it's well deserving of the price point it comes in at. But that's still a consideration. What's your budget? The other one is that while this certainly accepts a stereo signal, as you guys saw when I popped the grill off, it still is kind of in essence like having one bookshelf speaker, so it comes off as, well, basically mono sounding. Darn good mono at that. But it's not really a stereo experience. That is kind of the one thing you're giving up a little bit. You're keeping Mac quality. It's not on its own, at least, stereo. But for being what most smart speakers are used for, it's exceptionally well at that. If you have the extra space and you have the budget, you might want to look at the RS150's big brother, the RS250. It's still an all-in-one smart speaker, but it's a little bit larger, a little bit different form factor. Rather than being essentially a smart bookshelf speaker, it is a wider, slimmer, almost kind of a bar-shaped, but no, it's not a sound bar. And that actually plays stereo. And you can hear that difference, of course. Actual stereo in a compact format. But it is bigger, longer, larger footprint, and of course more expensive. So keep that in mind as well. It's got the best connectivity, the best wireless reliability, the best ease of use, some of the best sound, and probably the best aesthetic in its category and price tier. And at $1,200, I actually think it's a good deal. No, it's not cheap per se. There are less expensive, still good smart speakers, but they're not on this level. And we know that because this is a Mac, and we know what that means. Unlike a lot of Mac products, this guy is actually available on Gramophone.com. So you can head right on over to there, check out securely, and get fast and free shipping right to your doorstep of
Nice new McIntosh smart speaker, yeah.
Or you can give us a call at one of the showrooms and swing by. You'll find us in Timonium, Columbia, and Gaithersburg, Maryland. We also have a really pretty kitchen design center in Hunt Valley you should check out too. Now, all that said, if you don't think that this is a smart speaker for you, no worries. We got a whole lot of different smart speakers, and you can check out a lot of different ones over at Sky. You can see a lot in the showroom, and of course, just browse the YouTube channel. We have a lot of reviews. All right, y'all, you know what to do. If you had fun today, please give me a like. Comment section, 3 things. Tell me how you're doing. You enjoying your new year? Talk to me. Second thing, what do you want to see us review for you? And of course, question of the day. What's been your favorite smart speaker up until now? And why are you replacing it with this? Hopefully, maybe. But of course, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for watching. Be seeing you.